So let's go over a little vocabulary. Hopefully this is review for a lot of you, but we're looking at classifying, okay, polynomials, so we don't have to, know how to categorize these things, just how we categorize anything else in math or science class or really anything, okay? So a monomial, this keyword mono, this base word or this prefix, I guess, if you want to think of mono, is just going to mean one, okay? So basically this means that there's one term in your expression, okay? So an example of a one-term expression would just be like the number 6, okay? Or maybe another example of a monomial would just be like x, okay? Or 1 million, okay? Those are examples of monomials, okay? So binomial, remember we know the prefix of bi means 2, so binomial actually just means 2 terms. Okay, so 2 terms. An example of a binomial could be 2x minus 4, right? We have one term here, okay, and we have our second term here, right? So 2 terms total there. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of erase those again. I just want you to see what I mean. Okay, maybe another example of a binomial would be something like negative x plus 10. Okay, that would definitely be considered a binomial, again, because there are 2 terms. Okay, at this point, you probably kind of understand, well, tri means 3, tricycle means 3 tires, so trinomial is going to mean 3 terms. Okay, so remember, an example of a trinomial would be something like negative 5x squared plus 2x minus 1. Okay, again, we look at this term, we see that there are 1, 2, 3 terms. So we classify that as a trinomial. Okay? Now, again, a polynomial, technically, I guess all of these actually fall under a polynomial. But remember, that's just an expression. We've already defined this, but it's good review. It's an expression of the form ax to the k, where k is non-negative. Okay, so again, in other words, that exponent actually has to be positive. Okay, now let's look at some examples here and let's actually classify these. Okay, so looking at the polynomial, okay, we have to look at, what's our degree, okay? Again, what's the highest exponents, okay? We want to classify it by degree, and then finally we want to classify it by the number of terms. Okay, well, if we look at the first one, this number 6 here, there's really no exponent here. Maybe it's to the 0 power, so our degree is actually 0. Okay, when we want to classify this by degree, okay, we're actually just going to call this a constant term. Okay, again, it's sort of like y equals mx plus b. That b is that constant term. Okay, and if we were to classify this by the number of terms, that's just 1, so this is considered a monomial. Okay. Looking at the next one, okay, part B, we've got negative 2x, okay, so negative 2x, well, that's only 1 term, so I'm going to go over and call this a monomial again. Okay, technically this is x to the first power, so our degree in this case is 1, okay, and when we classify this by degree, well, if we graphed y equals negative 2x, this would actually be a linear function because it has an x term. Okay, so we will actually just call that a linear function because its degree is 1. Okay, so that's important to remember. Okay, if we have now y equals 3x plus 1, now remember that's 2 terms total. Okay, so now this is considered a binomial. So I'm going to go over here and write binomial. Okay, classification by degree, well, our highest degree here is just a 1, so that's still going to be linear, and our degree is 1. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. So the next one, we've got how many terms? 1, 2, 3 terms. Notice how the first part of the term I circle is the sign in front. Okay, so if I go ahead and kind of get rid of this, I know this is now a trinomial. Okay, when we have a 2 like this, okay, this is something that we haven't graphed yet, but this is actually called quadratic. Okay, so that's a quadratic function. Okay, its degree here is 2, right? So whenever your degree is 2, it's going to be a quadratic function. Okay, let's go ahead and scroll down just a little bit here. Okay, looking at this next classification by number of terms. Let's go back to red here. I only have 2 terms total. Okay, so that is a binomial because it's 2 terms. So I'll write binomial. Okay, looking at the next part here, if we classify this by degree, well, its degree is actually 3 this time, right? The highest exponent is 3. So this is actually called a cubic function, right? It's just like how something is cubed, it's called a cubic function. Okay, and this very last one, it's raised to the 4th power, so its degree is 4. We call that a quartic or quartic function, and it looks like it has 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So this we're just going to call a polynomial. Okay, so at this time, go ahead and make sure you copy that stuff down. So pause the video if you need to. Okay, it's really important that we understand this and how things are classified. Okay, now I'm going to kind of turn it over to the next page here, and these next ones I'd like you to kind of try on your own to try to classify these. Okay, and we'll definitely go over the answers here. Okay, we'll go through this next part here pretty quick. We do know that x squared minus 6, there's 2 terms there, so we're going to call that a binomial. Okay, when we classify that by degree, that's going to be a quadratic function. Okay, it's quadratic because, again, its highest degree is 2, and our degree is 2. There we go. Okay, our highest degree on part B is 1, so we know that's a linear function. Okay, there's actually only 1 term there, so that's a monomial. Okay, moving on here, looks like we got 2 terms, so we're going to go ahead and call that a binomial. Okay, its highest degree is just x to the 1st there, so it's 1, and we also know that that is, again, a linear function. Okay, kind of moving down here just a little bit. Part D, that's only 1 term there, so that's another monomial. Okay, that's actually a degree of 0 in this case, so this is just a constant term. It's just a number. Okay, great. Moving on to the next one, we got all sorts of terms there. It's bigger than 3. We're going to call that a polynomial. Okay, so it's many terms. Polynomial. I spelled that wrong. Polynomial. Okay. There's all sorts of about 5 terms there. Okay, its highest degree is 4. It's already in standard form for us there, so that's a quartic function. Quartic. Okay, and finally this last one we have 3 terms. That's a trinomial. Okay, its highest degree is 3, and that is a cubic function. Okay, I know this is kind of a long video, but I hope this is very helpful for you guys to kind of help organize this vocabulary.